The Man Without Fear is beloved by many fans who watch the Netflix series. When Marvel made some changes to the show and streaming services, it was as if we had to say goodbye to Charlie Cox and his character forever. But to everyone's surprise, it was announced that he'll be getting his own show, called Daredevil Born Again. How is this different from the Netflix original, and what do we know? Let's find out in this video. First up, is the new show dark and gritty? The Netflix series was known to defy the usual Marvel blueprint in 2015, and gave fans a tone they weren't quite used to. Introducing a completely different atmosphere to the MCU is something that was a breath of fresh air. That is, if the air was filled with R-rated gore and explicit language. But once Cox returned as Daredevil in She-Hulk, fans got the idea that they wouldn't be getting the badass devil of Hell's Kitchen they once loved. Both the actor and Kevin Feige said that the new and improved show will not be as dark and gritty as fans may think. This sounds like a real bummer, sure, but if you saw him in Attorney at Law, you'd know that Charlie still understands and portrays the character with perfection. You might have not noticed this, but a big chunk of the lore from the Netflix version of the character was missing. This is other than the totally different vibe you got from the character. For example, Matt's costume designer Melvin Potter was replaced entirely with the sassy yet hilarious Luke Jacobson. Sorry, OG Daredevil fans, but a lot of things are going to be changing once the new series is out. Following up with why the show won't be the same. When Disney announced their cancellation of all the Marvel Netflix shows, followed by bringing back Charlie Cox's Daredevil, fans could only assume one thing. The one thing is that the character is getting rebooted. This, to some extent, is true because of the new look and lack of references to previous characters. Cox is the only one who got the callback from the studios to star as the masked vigilante. Vincent D'Onofrio is also reprising his role as Kingpin, but that's pretty much it. There's been no update on Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, Elektra, or other members of the Defenders. Born Again, from its title, means that the character is getting a soft reboot, but keeping the actor, because come on, who doesn't love the actor? Charlie also said that if they're not changing the tone of the show on Disney Plus, then what's the point? But the new installment to Phase 5 won't be all sunshine and rainbows. Cox also confirmed that although Born Again won't be as gory, it'll still have its dark elements. That sounds a little tough, considering Murdock's new suit is a totally different shade of color that doesn't really scream stealth. This new and improved yellow suit made its debut on She-Hulk, and in all fairness, it looked pretty badass. To compare tones and suits, why not take a look back at the times The Man Without Fear appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Up next, Daredevil in the MCU. Cox first grabbed the guide cane and suited up for his cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home, the film that was every Spidey fan's dream come true. Though his scene lasted for just a short moment, it was still great to see Charlie reprise his role as the best lawyer in town. His appearance in She-Hulk was just as great, and that yellow and red suit is just a chef's kiss. At first, fans thought bringing a practical character like Daredevil into the world of heavy computer imagery wouldn't sit well. After seeing him take on She-Hulk and avoid her CGI attacks, a lot of people found it all to be very fitting. But the addition of Matt wasn't so seamless upon closer inspection. Fans weren't feeling the completely different dialogue he had, because things went from badass and iconic to humorous and witty. If someone watched Murdock in action for the first time in the Disney Plus show that was released in 2022 before watching the Netflix one, they'd definitely be in for a wild ride. Guess you can say we're getting the best of both worlds, huh? We gave you an answer to whether or not Born Again will be gritty, but let's see what the actor had to say. Now for what Charlie Cox said about the show. The 40-year-old actor has always loved being Daredevil, both on and off camera. He's a huge Marvel fan, and even dressed up as Loki for Halloween. When asked about his time on set for She-Hulk, Cox was thrilled to find a computer-generated image of him suited up on screen. He appreciated the lovely homage they made by rendering a gold and red suit, and it's safe to say that it looked even better on screen. But as far as his solo series is concerned, Charlie has a very busy schedule ahead of him. The studios told him that they'll start filming in February and be done by December. It's rumored that he still hasn't seen the script, but if you're shooting shooting your scenes within a month, you've got to have some sort of material to work on, right? The actor talked about how he doesn't think the season will be a different case for his lawyer alter ego to take on every week, but rather a day-to-day look at Murdoch's life as he earns his suit to fight crime. We've gotten something like this already in the original show, so it'll take a lot to beat that caliber of storytelling. Cox is keen on expanding how this character can be expressed to a kid-friendly audience on Disney+. You know exactly what that means, folks. Get ready for a stampede of angry Marvel fans once the show premieres. Let's talk about what made the Netflix originals so great. If you've seen everything from the so-called Defenders verse, you'd know this is a rhetorical question. What didn't make those shows so great? Since we're talking about Daredevil in this video, we'll focus on his 3 seasons for now. That doesn't mean that shows like Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist aren't good, because those are just as awesome. Fans were so used to members of the Avengers in their movies doing their thing in humorous ways that watching something like Daredevil in 2015 was very unexpected. The show had it all: great storytelling, gorgeous cinematography, masterclass acting, and the wonderful graphic violence comic book fans have always craved to see. Charlie Cox blew everyone's minds away with his acting, because he gave it his all in this performance. Some sources even say that the actor had a hard time getting roles in different projects because he was so used to pretending to be a blind man on camera that he couldn't focus on what needed to be focused on in different movies. Imagine casting Cox as a heart surgeon and he was cutting veins here and there without looking at the patient's chest. Doctor Strange would definitely revoke his medical license. And since we mentioned the Magic Man, it was also very interesting to see almost no CGI being used in the show. Now that he's part of the MCU, Charlie better get used to standing in front of a green screen, because he'll probably have to fight a 10-foot fire-breathing monster at some point in the franchise. Moving on to what we know about the show. First up, do we have a release date? Forget the cast and plot details of the series, because the one question everyone asks is when we'll see more of the Man Without Fear. A lot of people expect things to come sooner now that it's 2023, but unfortunately, we're expecting a spring 2024 release, so there's still a long way to go. Besides, Cox did mention that they'll be filming for the entirety of this year because of the number of episodes they've planned. Wait, you thought there'd be just 10 episodes in the season? Boy, are you wrong. We are set for not 10, not 13, but 18 episodes. That's 5 more than the amount we got back when Netflix streamed the show. Next up, who's on the show? Apart from the main lead and Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, a very strong ensemble is in talks to appear in the upcoming series. Margarita Levieva from Revenge, Sandrine Holt from American Gigolo, and Michael Gandolfini from The Many Saints of Newark are all rumored to be part of the cast. As much as fans would love for Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wall to return to the show as Foggy and Karen, there's still no update about that. But Fisk is the supposed antagonist of Hawkeye and Echo, right? Who will be the villain in Born Again? Let's talk about the plot. Though not much detail of the story is given, Charlie does have a funny villain in mind to introduce in the show. Of all the bad guys in his rogue gallery, Cox wants to face someone as ludicrous as Stiltman, because he thinks it'll be a challenge to keep someone as hilarious as a guy on stilts in a grounded show like Daredevil. I just think it'd be funny if we found a way of doing that without it massively denting our credibility as an authentic, truthful superhero show, said the actor when speaking with Metro. As far as ridiculous villains are concerned, the MCU is no stranger to dealing with them. She-Hulk has already teased Leapfrog, and we've seen characters like Thor take on giant volcano monsters in Ragnarok. There were also a pair of steel legs in Melvin Potter's warehouse back in the Netflix original, which served as an Easter egg for Stiltman in that universe. But we are sure that someone like that can't be a big threat to the city in the show, because many fans want Wilson Bethel to reprise his role as Bullseye. Come on, Marvel, we still have to see him in all his glory. Lastly, what can be said about the upcoming show? Spring 2024 is still very far, and we'll be getting more announcements and first looks at the show soon. Fans are hoping to see Marvel maintain the grounded atmosphere the Man Without Fear holds without being too lighthearted. With shows like Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and more, it's reassuring to to see that the MCU can balance many different tones within the same universe. Hey, maybe we'll see something as awesome as Daredevil using Spider-Man's webs to swing from rooftop to rooftop in the near future. What are your thoughts on the upcoming show? Let us know in the comments below. As always, leave a like and hit that subscribe button to see more of our content. We'll see you in the next one.